Hello, my fellow YouTubers. This is Roy back again. Miss you guys. Hope you all safe out there. Here's a nice half a moon. This is going to be an interesting experiment, guys. We're going to replicate an experiment that was done in 1919. Got all the pieces here that I need, and I'll go over the pieces with you, and they're all not together, but I did rebuild the oscillator and it's working, and I have it hooked up to a frequency generator, and right now we're going to I got it on the input, so it'll show us what frequency we're driving this oscillator. And then over here we have a high voltage flyback with a driver, and we're going to match the frequency of this driver along with the oscillator. And with the oscillator we're going to create a antenna from there that's going to put out RF waves, and we're going to blend the RF waves with electrostatic, and we're going to redo a test using quartz crystal. And this is a resonator that I'm building, or going to build, and we'll start off with the pieces, and we'll get into the storyline so you guys can follow the story. And truthfully, this is an experiment that I'm going to dedicate to my boy Leedskalnin, because the time frame is perfect. This study that was done, this experiment and study by Dr. Kowsky, Kowsky. Look into it online and punch his name in and check out the test study he did. And then two other doctors took his test and duplicated it, but they also found another phenomenon. We're going to go over that. And that falls in line with Leedskalnin. And I think the second test was done in 1927. And that falls in time frame of Leedskalnin with his wheel and experiments and supposedly floating stones. I think we may have a good opportunity here to put it to the test to see if we can get that stone to float by using Dr. Kowsky's first original experiment. And I want to give a shout out to one of my subscribers, Jacob Lewinsky. He sent me an email about a week ago and said that I might find this gentleman interesting, and in regards to levitation. And I'm all about trying to find out levitation, and Ed's wheel to this day is just magnets. And I think we might be able to tie something in here if these experiments turn out to be somewhat true. And we have this big coquina rock there, which is super heavy, the St. Augustine rock. And then I have some original from the area of Coral Castle, original rock. Here's coral rock. And then this was found on my property here up in St. Augustine, and it's a coral rock, but it's got crystals growing on it. So that means that this is the same makeup, the same lattice structure as this. So that means if this experiment has any truth to it, then we should be able to levitate these rocks and make them weightless. Let's start off with the storyline, okay? 1919, we're talking here. This Dr. Kowsky, may not be pronouncing his name right, but it's K-O-W, Kowsky, S-K-Y, Kowsky. I'll read back some of the notes. While experimenting with constants of very short waves, Dr. Kowsky carried out on by means of quartz resonators. A piece of quartz which was used suddenly showed a clearly altered appearance. It was easily seen that in the center of the crystal, milky cloudiness appeared, which gradually developed to complete opacity, where it was so cloudy you couldn't even see through it, like milk. This is Dr. Kowsky, 1919. In 1927, the experiments of Dr. Messner did similar in lines, according to which the quartz crystal, subject to high tension and electrostatic fields, high static frequencies currents clearly showed air currents, which led to the construction of a little motor based on this principle. So it's not technically a motor, but it has the makings of mixing a blend of electrostatics along with RF, which is a fast alternating current. Quartz and some other crystals of similar atomic, okay, there you go, different quartz, different crystals of the same atomic nature have the property, when exposed to potential excitation in a definite direction, of stretching and contracting, and using rapidly changing potentials, the crystals will change the electric waves into mechanical oscillations. This piezoelectric effect, shown in Rochelle study, salt crystals by which they may be made into sound producing devices, such as loudspeakers and microphones. Here's where it gets real interesting here. By a special arrangement of excitation of the crystal in various directions, it may be made to stretch or increase in length and will not return to its original size. So they're saying that this crystal I have up here, that we're going to be able to change this to 10 times its size. And by doing so, we're going to do this. So it says testing it on the balance, they used it on a scale, showed that after connecting the crystal to the high tension current, the arm of the balance on which the crystal and the electric connections rest rose into the air. So here we go. So I got 24 volts. I'm using a little DC motor controller. I'm going into this oscillator that I built. We'll draw out the schematics for it. And I'm coming off of I'm using a Model T Ford make break contact from a buzzer coil. I made my own coil, got my own core, and I got a bifilar. I'm only using one single wire. There's a thinner wire, 26 gauge, and I believe this is a 22 gauge wire. Not using a 22 gauge wire, I'm just using the single wire. We'll talk about these later. And pretty much, let me just turn up the dial. We'll get the volts here. We'll get the frequency here. And then here's the frequency. This is in kilohertz. And the volts ain't coming up. They're kind of altering. Here we go, 13. Let me see what I can go down to. Yeah, anything under 11 and change. But what I wanted to show you was the frequency here at 12 volts. We're at 286,300, kind of moving. And that's what the problem was back in the day in 1919, is that they couldn't keep a steady frequency. They're bouncing all over, okay? So the original study was they knew that they could use a crystal, and that's how the crystal radio came about. But watch as I go up in voltage, the frequency will start off nothing, okay? And the frequency is 0. Now I'm just going to turn it until when it does start, should have a fast frequency. And the reason is it's almost like it starts off real fast, and the higher voltage you go up, the further apart the contacts are, and then the frequency goes down. So right now we're probably 7, 8 volts, and we're pushing a lot of kilohertz here. Okay, now you can hear them going up. My core back there, and there's the contact. Here's my adjustment, another mechanical adjustment. This is a piece of beautiful machinery back in the day. Now you gotta have tension on there. $14 volts, frequency 268 to 343,000, or kilohertz. Kilohertz is 1,000 hertz times that. We're going to go up in voltage, then it'll start bouncing, and then speed will go down. Now we brought it down to 20. We can drop it down and go more. The more voltage we go up, the lower it goes. 21 volts. Down with the volts. You can see it just dropped. So this is my oscillator, so I have to build an antenna for it. Then when the antenna is built, we're going to build a resonator. I just wanted to show you inside the resonator is going to have electrostatic emitters coming horizontally. And we're going to put the oscillating RF frequency vertically. Okay, we'll have a copper plate up top, copper plate in the bottom, and we'll be using the flyback, and we'll be matching the frequencies. That's the whole key, I think, there. So this crystal in our experiment, nice and clear. We'll measure the size of it, we'll weigh it, and then we'll wait to see if it turns milky, okay? So over here, on the gravity nullifier, we're going to put this all in vacuum because the Dr. Kowsky claims that in his experiment he needed to be 50 degrees or colder. We'll first try it without vacuum in a chamber, and then we'll see what results we get, and then we'll try it in vacuum. And I'm thinking that if I put it a negative vacuum, that from my past experiment, if you take and drop water into a negative vacuum, it will vaporize. So I'm thinking we need to make the vacuum chamber, so to me that means heat, steam, in a negative. So that means that I'm thinking if we go positive, it would create a cold environment. I'm going to have to do this and study it and see how it works. But the top plate here, you see, is going to be the high frequency oscillator emitter. The bottom plate here will be the same, the high frequency oscillator emitter. So we'll be doing quick change alternating. Current will be vertically. The crystal will be in the middle. We're going to direct the electrostatic inwardly, horizontally into the crystal. And we're going to give this test a run for its money. Well, you guys, leave your comments. Hopefully you enjoy the start of this great experiment. Hope you guys are all safe. Peace out. Leave your comments.